All right, some highlights today from our live trading chat room. I am going to show you the calls, and I'm going to try to use these videos to better explain the reasons for them and how we found them and how we traded them and so on. So anyway, CETV didn't even have it on watch, although I know it's had a recent big move. When I say recent, in the last few weeks, okay, but didn't even have this one on a chart. But all of a sudden in the chat room, I don't know if it was me or somebody else posted all of a sudden this thing gets a volume spike. Might have been me, it might have been somebody else. Either way, somebody put it on our radar. It had this nice pop, and again, and look at that. So immediately, I'm remembering that CETV had a pop not that long ago, and so I start to watch this on the pullback, and I used 2-minute candles and called this long at 414 with a stop at 411. These are 5-minute candles, so you can't quite see it, but 414, 411, so 3 cents risk, and it goes to 440. That doesn't sound like much, but that's a 6.2% move from our entry. And again, the risk was 3 pennies a share. So IDRA was another nice percentage gainer. Now IDRA, I've liked this chart for a while, and then I saw this big volume at the open. Okay, so now you've got a big volume push. Look at it relative. I'll back out a few days. You don't see volume bigger than that going the past few days, and that was in the opening 10 minutes. Okay, so now it takes out the low of the day, comes back up, and now is basing below that early high. This volume to me was the tell, and I went ahead and just called it simply long over this 630 area. I said if it breaks this base, we'll probably get through the high of the day, could get a nice push. Daily chart has room above as well. So called it at 632 with a 624 stop. There's the trigger, and strong really most of the rest of the day from 632, on 8 cents risk, it went to 687. That's an 8.7% move on a very tight stop, and you can see we were never underwater in that one. BIOF. Now this one I called as a sympathy play because FF, which I'd really never heard of before, called Future Fuel Corporation. Somebody in the chat said it was biofuels or something, and PEIX was also strong, another one in that space. So with those two being strong, and couple that with, let me get a drawing tool going here, couple that with, look at just a couple days ago, look at the volume pouring into this thing, and look at that move. Okay, so now we know this one can move well. We know sympathy plays, or it's a good sympathy play to a couple stocks, FF and PEIX, that are moving well. So, and it was, holding up okay. So I just called it over this little base here. I called it long at 333 with a 327 stop. So there's the trigger, and the stop's right here. And we got a really nice push there after a little bit, all the way to 367. Doesn't sound like much, but that's a 10% move from our entry on a 6 cents risk that didn't stop out. And a couple others, SZYM. SZYM has been really strong lately, and then was just coming off of a like a 3 or 4 day pullback. So we had this little tight base here. This is the opening candle this morning. And it was really holding up well. And again, this one's been really strong lately, so it's a little obscure and a little bit lower volume for a $14 stock than I'd normally call, but I called it at 1402. I liked the action. Worst case stop, 1385. There's the trigger, and it was just up from there. It was just up from there, all the way to 14, I don't know how high it went, 1471. Not bad from 1402 on 17 cents risk. And then one last one, and I'll tell you why I call this one NQ. Now this is NQ, but this is yesterday I'm showing you, and this is the reason I found it for the chat room today. Look at that volume spike yesterday, and look at that move. I actually called it yesterday on this pullback right about here, and we had a nice trade in it yesterday. But let me add in today now, and you can see how it opened. So it opens there, little bottoming tail. You have 3 consecutive lower highs on 5-minute candles. I just called this as a basic fives play. The first break of a previous fives high, stop below that low. So 2011, if the next candle breaks this candle's high that I'm hovering over, I'll give you a little circle here. So if it breaks this candle's high and a stop below that candle's low. So it was 2011 and worst case stop 1987. There's the trigger. Now we're hoping, this hadn't fallen that far. Now we're hoping for a high of day break and lighten up the new highs ticker, probably get people piling in after this action yesterday, and that's exactly what happened. The thing was, it tailed off at the end of the day, but from our entry at 2011, it went all the way to, I don't know how high it went, 2085. So again, nicely in our favor. on pretty little risk. So that's the highlights from today, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.